One of the benefits of being a one-man shop is I know what goes into making the whiskey. I know what it's supposed to taste like. I know why we do what we do to make it taste the way it tastes. I'm not a trained chemist. I'm not a traditional whiskey aficionado from Kentucky or whatever. I approach whiskey as a whiskey enthusiast. If it tastes good, it's a good whiskey. For me, a good whiskey is a good memory. It's a great story. It's campfire, it's friends. You were sitting around the table and you remembered that thing that one time and everybody laughed, and that's a great drink of whiskey. And we try to put that in our bottles every time. I go out and do the tastings, so I get immediate feedback when somebody takes a sample and they taste it, and I see the look on their face, and then their eyebrows go up and they look at their friend and they nod, and boom. That's the feedback that I'm looking for. And that's when I know I've got a good product, because I see it on their face when they drink it. My name is Joe Breda. I'm the owner and operator of the Old Humble Distilling Company here in Humble, Texas. We collect rainwater from the roof of these buildings, comes down through these pipes, and it gets pumped up through here into our tanks. It gets UV filtered, reverse osmosis filtered once, twice, and then we collect it here in our water tower that we have inside. Me and my buddy were home brewers. I made beer in my dorm room, he made beer in his dorm room. We were in different colleges because when you're 19, you're not allowed to buy beer. This water is clean, crisp, better than your drinking water. After college, we went from making beer to making wine, and then making wine went to wine tastings. We bring in the water and our grains into the pot. Then we'll cook it, we'll bring it up to the temperature to separate the starches and sugars from the grains and get it into the water. Somebody invited me to a whiskey tasting, a creature that I didn't know existed at the time. Our fermenters will ferment the grains anywhere between 7 and 10 days. At that point, it should be about 15% alcohol by volume. I had never realized that whiskeys could taste so different, and that's when I fell in love with the whiskeys. We'll transfer this back into our 2 pots for the distillation process. That's when we separate the alcohol from the water. The laws in Texas were in the process of being changed so that small manufacturers of whiskey could sell directly out of their distillery. And it was just a matter of a few months after that that I had a business plan in place and a couple of stills on a boat. Me and my buddy were ready to start making whiskey. These are stainless steel, steam jacketed pot stills. Traditional copper column, doesn't add any off flavors to the alcohol steam as it comes through the column. A couple of years after that, I bought out my partners, moved it down here to Humble, changed the name to the Old Humble Distilling Company. Slowly boil off the alcohol, collect the alcohol out of the column, and then bring that alcohol over to our bright storage tanks. And we are now moving into our 3rd facility, about to build out our 2nd tasting room. This tank holds the finished whiskey before it goes into the bottles. We bottle the whiskey. Every 27 seconds, we fill up 4 bottles of whiskey. So right now, we've got 3 whiskeys available on the market. We have our straight whiskey, our special reserve, and our Boomtown Bourbon. Our Boomtown Bourbon was actually the first one that we made. It is a more traditional bourbon, corn, malted barley, and rye. The difference is we age it in small 5-gallon barrels so that we can get that flavor that we're looking for into the whiskey in a shorter period of time and get it out to market sooner. It's smooth, it's clean, it's bourbon the way bourbon should taste. You don't have to fight your way to the bottom of the bottle. When the whiskey bottles are full, we make sure that the levels are right. We bring them over to our corking and capping machine. The leverage, it makes it so that even a 9-year-old could do it. I know this because I make my 9-year-old do it every once in a while. So our straight whiskey is 90% corn, 10% malted barley, aged in used barrels. Gives it a lighter color, brisk flavor, not as deep, not as heavy with the char and the oak. It's a nice, easy, smooth whiskey, great for hot summer months. Drink it over the ice, drink it over a cocktail, however you want to do it, just so long you drink it. Label a bottle, back label, front label, and then we take a portion of that straight whiskey, put it back in new barrels, age it a 2nd time to make our special reserve. We put on the seal, make sure it's good to go in the box. This is the straight whiskey. You see the nice caramelly light color, and then the special reserve is about a shade darker. Just a little bit more time in the barrel gives it that darker shade and a slightly more refined flavor. It's a magical thing, turning water into wine, baby. The difference between bourbon and whiskey, your whiskey is distilled and fermented spirit made from cereal grains. That's it, that's your whiskey. So you have your rye, you have your wheats, you have your corn. Bourbon is a very specific type of whiskey. It's made in the United States, it's 50% corn. It's got no coloring, no additives, no flavorings. No matter what they tell you in Kentucky, it can be made in Texas. It can be made really well in Texas. We prove that. The industry in Texas is relatively new. And one of the really cool things about small producers versus the large producers is that we can do a lot of cool things, different things with our whiskeys. You can take a small portion of your batches, put it into Cabernet barrels, or put it over toasted pecans or hickory, and you can take a couple 100 gallons of your batch and do that and sell it out of your tasting room. Next year, we'll be releasing a limited edition small batch of bourbon made exclusively with melted snowpack water that we collected in February of 2020 to commemorate the 72-hour blackout that we had during the snowpocalypse of February 2020. It'll be our 72-hour blackout bourbon. One of the things that I pride myself on here at the distillery is you don't have to psych yourself up to take a shot. It's an easy drinking, sipping whiskey. It's just good. I intend to make the best whiskey, period. I got medals to prove it. We don't sell half bottles of bourbon. People just take pictures of it 2 days after they buy it, and it tends to be half full. I'll get the picture on Twitter, and it's like, pick this up this afternoon. I was like, damn, good for you, buddy. We're still really in the startup phase of what we're trying to do. It would be great if we could build this company to the point where it's something that my grandkids could run and their grandkids could run. Everybody's got ambitions, but simply making whiskey and being a part of the industry and surviving to the next at-bat. I'm living the dream right now. This is awesome.